What's going on, everyone? And on TCG here, and I want to spend some time going through a video on why the market for Pokemon sealed product is so fragmented. But to start, I want to start with Magic the Gathering. So, I grew up playing Magic, never played Pokemon. Didn't really get into the Pokemon sealed product game until, last couple of years here. But in Magic the Gathering, there's always been EV, generally positive or close to break even in boxes. So if you crack boxes and you sold singles, you wouldn't get your face ripped off, or you could make a little bit of money. And what's interesting, and we'll just take doubling season for the new Foundation set. You have 498 of these cards listed, and you can see everybody's just undercutting themselves by pennies, 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 trying to sell the set. So as people are looking to buy this, generally speaking, and it's an interesting way to say it, but people in Magic are super sophisticated where they will flock to the lowest price. That's just the way it is. And during all the Amazon dump days, it was well known that Amazon was dumping collectors boxes and product, and people were buying the shit out of them until they had return issues and repacks and stuff like that. So Magic is really liquid, and people shop around for the lowest price. Now people buy singles at card shows, at local stores, but generally speaking, the market's liquid. The market's not super fragmented, and people buy the cards to either collect or play. Pokemon is not that way. Pokemon's almost like a toy, in my experience, where people don't necessarily give a shit what the price is. If it's new and shiny, they want it. And I'll go through a couple examples here. So there's a lot of people who scratch their heads because people buy boxes from Pokemon Center for MSRP when the boxes come out. And I mean, obviously, Surging Sparks is a different animal, but all of the older sets for Scarlet and Violet came out, and they sat around $100, 95, 105, whatever. But people would continue to buy them off Pokemon Center. And I think part of the reason for that is, well, I can buy a Pokemon product on Pokemon Center. The EV is negative 100% of the time in all of these boxes, unless you really hit the lottery. So opening these boxes is just a fool's errand. And, people want them because they don't care. It's almost like they're lighting money on fire. It's kind of like when Cynthia Williams took over Wizards of the Coast, and she just printed game pieces because it's the Pokemon mindset. And quite honestly, it's the Philip Morris mindset. You burn your money, you burn your cigarette, you get your high, and you move on. You open your pack, you get that fix, and you move on. That's it. And that's not the way Magic the Gathering players are programmed. But that's kind of the way Pokemon fans are programmed, because the population of players, not massive. I would argue that the population of investors and collectors is much higher. And again, it's more of a toy than it is anything else. And generally speaking, I think that's why the price of boxes historically has done nothing but go up, albeit at different intervals, time periods. There have been long periods of time when certain boxes have gone down. Vivid Voltage, Battle Styles, Dumpster Fire Forever, they're starting to creep up. But even like your Sword and Shield base set, the EV of the cards is so fucking negative. I mean, it's almost like an Onslaught box for Magic the Gathering, where the foil multiplier is through the roof, but your EV is like 5 or 10% of what you would pay for the box. It's just obscenely low. But people buy it because they collect it, they want it, and they don't really give a shit what the value proposition is. So we had somebody reach out in the comment section and ask, why are people buying from TCG Player for 170, 175 when Pokemon Center was 161? And my point is, people don't care about the price. They want the product. Some people don't know Pokemon Center exists. Quite honestly, I didn't know it existed until about a year and a half ago, because I'm not a Pokemon fan. I've grown up on eBay and TCG Player, and that's the world I knew. Don't go to local game stores other than the one I'm kind of affiliated with, but that's it. So if we look in, and I think Surging Sparks has started to kind of consolidate here as the volumes become sparse, and the people that wanted to buy it just to buy it, I think, are kind of through the product. So you have the low price here on TCG Player, 194. And if you look, the volume started to tail off, but honestly, I think the volume has started to tail off here. really because people are saving up for the Cyber Weekend sale and get 10 to 13% off. So, why buy it now? The odds of it going from 200 to 250 in the next week, not super high compared to waiting and getting 13% off or whatever. But, you look at the sales, you're right around $200 here. You go to eBay, and this is where it gets super fascinating. So each one of these sales, you have a buyer that may have a vested interest in winning the auction just to feel good about themselves. You have a seller who may desperately need to make $150 off the sale, and may be interested to take a low offer versus waiting for market. So there's these dynamics all over the place that are unique to the buyer and the seller that you don't see in a super liquid market. I mean, you look at the stock market, and there's a bunch of market makers that, they don't give a shit about money. Well, let me rephrase that. They don't have a need for immediate funds. They don't have to pay bills, medical bills, grocery store, rent, whatever. So it's a very, very unique place. And you have a large amount of people who they want the product because it's cool. This dude who paid $55.89 for a Surgeon Sparks ETB, they could buy it to put on their desk at home, on their office desk. We don't know, but it's that level of market inefficiency that creates all these imbalances. And quite honestly, it creates opportunity. You have this box here, 41 bids, $195. Here's one, best offer accepted at 180. These two boxes probably sold, I don't know, half hour apart, 20 minutes apart. It's bizarre. Here's another one. They bid it up to 32. This is 275 Canadian, so right around $200, 200. Here's a box today that sold for 152. Best offer accepted. Chances are this dude was in at 100, 110, needed his money, and he took it and rolled. There's an interesting strategy here where, you want to buy a bunch of cards, you go across and just lowball best offers and hope you get one. I mean, I did it with the gold Pikachus early on because I found out it was more rare than the SIR. Made a bunch of lowball offers, and I managed to get 5 out of like 7 because people are so programmed that the gold cards are kind of trash and nobody wants them. And I think Pokemon Company just kind of shuffled the deck and changed the game, and people didn't realize it. So it's kind of all over. Here's one for 180 today, another one for 200. So it's so fragmented. There's no rhyme or reason, no explanation. Then you go to Pokemon Center. For the longest time, you could buy these at $161, and TCG Player had them at $178. It's just it kind of is the way it is now. On Pokemon Center, you were limited to buying a case, so there are some limitations there. But I mean, if you're buying on TCG Player, you're certainly not buying in volume. Maybe a couple cases, depending. But that's it. And then you look at some of the private sellers. You have Forge and Fire Gaming, $197. Collector's Cash, which I just recently pre-ordered some ETBs of Prismatic Evolutions, quite honestly, just as an emergency, because I think we're gonna post some pre-orders here once we get some additional allocations, assuming they're not just complete garbage, but X or 10 or whatever, if there's a contingency and we get screwed somehow. But I mean, these guys are $200. The problem with Collector's Cash is you go through, they charge you sales tax, and then they charge you like $50 of shipping, which is obscene. And I mean, the fact that they and look, the policy is disclosed, so if you miss it, shame on you. But they have a link here that explains why the shipping cost is so high. So, it's a short way of saying that if you're an astute buyer, you can shop around and you can find a good price. If you're an astute seller, you can throw a box up there at 10% above market and people are going to hit it. I mean, I've been watching Surging Sparks boxes on TCG Player, and there were boxes selling at 180, 185, and people were paying them at $200. So it's convenience. And again, it is not super price elastic in this market because people want it because everybody else wants it. So, speaking of, and just one last sad tale here, people want things when they can't get them. Well, as I mentioned in my video, Arthurian Legends down to $600 for a case. And guess how many are selling? One sold. because now nobody fucking wants it because there's so much product in the market. They've killed the game because, quite honestly, they're incompetent. Look at booster boxes. $98 plus $6. $6 in shipping it was earlier. $7 in shipping. And there's boxes selling. There's some volume. But the MSRP on this is $129. Distro price is $80, $78, $81, depending. This seller's walking away breaking even, just dumping the product. Rudy had a sale dumping the product. These guys had an amazing opportunity and they fucked it up. So anyway, you overprint, you pay the price, as Rudy says. Also, I put out a video this morning. Feel free to go take a look at it. And I'll probably do one tomorrow. All the reprints of SV1 through SV05 have hit distro. It's the last opportunity to buy product here. So, buying it over the holidays with the deal's discounted price, really going to be your last opportunity, and it's going to be a good one. So, subscribe, join the Discord. Like I said, we're going to most likely have some Thanksgiving deals. The website's ready to go. We'll post them probably over the weekend and leave everything open for a week. We'll announce them as we get a little bit closer. So, all right, guys, take it easy.